Hello. All right, good morning, everybody. Can you hear us? Or good evening, depending upon where you are. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Yay! So we're connected through the phone, so it's going to be a lot easier for everybody across the table to hear. So I am totally not on camera, but hi. I do that on purpose. No. Thank you for being here this morning. We want to kick things off with some quick updates about the project, and then it seems like everybody wanted a good bit of question and answer time. I know that was a big part of our last call as well. So if you've got questions that you want discussed or any topic that you want discussed, if you'll add it to the working doc, and then I ask if you'll just put your name and what organization you're with, just because it works well if I can say like, hey, Steve had a question, and then you can, have the dialogue. So we will get started very quickly with kind of a general project status. Anybody want to speak to that? I know we also want to talk about release and release processes. So I'm going to put, I don't know if you want to be the one on the spot, or Varun just walked in. We'll put him on the spot.
Good morning, everyone.
We were just starting off with just a general project status, and then either Laurent or Sebastian are going to talk about the release process and where we are with that, and what happened this week, things like that.
Hey, April, can you link the community doc in the chat? Perfect. So maybe you do it. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. Who wants to update? Don't everybody speak at once. You can tell it's way too early in California. Zach is nodding. Yes, I know.
Okay. How come I don't? How many people do we have?
We have about 34 people.
Oh.
But we're dialed in via the phone.
Okay.
And that's what they're saying.
Okay. Got it. All right. Project status. So we want an update, like what's happening, like release process. I'm not the best guy to update. So.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna put these two on the spot.
We should probably talk about timing of 02. And more important than timing is what is in 02. So I guess we'll start with some broad things. So this is probably well known, or maybe not, but worth repeating. The next release, which is 02, is planned for, I would say, somewhere around mid-September. Anybody's giving me a look, so I think I'm fine. And if it's not well known, then I think that the big things there, or at least what I think is big there, is one is cluster-wide Istio. So today it was like one namespace only. I think that's a fairly big deal. A lot of people were asking for that. Second one was TCP support, which has also been a recurring ask. Third one is actually being able to run stuff running in VMs, including them into the Istio mesh. So I think those three are fairly big from my sort of viewpoint. If people have have opinions on like, yes, I was absolutely waiting for that and +1, or no, this is not the important thing, then feel free to voice over audio or doc comments.
So Varun, you mentioned the Mixer plugin standardization.
That's Louis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. No, I didn't. So go ahead, Louis. You can mention that.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the pieces of feedback we've been getting, both from people reaching out to us directly and some of the stuff in the community, is that people want to write Mixer plugins, but they don't feel like braving the rough territory until the standardization stuff is done, the interfaces, so that the plugins are stable, etc. And so, 0.2 will deliver that. And so that we expect that to be a big feature of the 0.2 release. Anyone else want to?
Yes, absolutely.
What they think?
Yeah. So to the extent we have, you guys think that you need specific adapters that will help you around any metrics collection or tracing or whatever, then feel free to throw in your comments or requests, or write them. Have a shot at writing them yourself as well.
There's a couple of other things that we're doing also that I think might be useful for people. Like one of them is the automatic installation. Thanks to in 1.7 in Kubernetes, you can configure a admission control, and we are going to automatically inject the sidecar, so you don't have to do the kube inject. And there's performance improvements also that are pretty important. 0.2.
I think the other big thing in 0.2 is we actually have APIs, right? Instead of giant config files, there are actually granular APIs. So if you want to write your automation tools on top, you can. Whereas before, that would have been a giant pain in the neck, particularly for folks out there doing CI/CD stuff, deployment management.
Should I give an update on the test infra as well? So for the test infra, we're actually moving away from Jenkins, and we're using Pro, which is Kubernetes CI. But what it gives a contributor is, before, in order to create a job, you kind of needed admin to the Jenkins CI, and now you can just create a PR. So it's kind of, so you need to create a job, you need to create the PR on the test infra, but then in order to, you can create your own jobs yourself. So that gives power to the contributors. We're also using a submit queue, which is also borrowed for Kubernetes. So once your PR is approved, you can let it go, and it's going to go in the queue and get approved automatically. So we're using this for 3 repo, I think, Pilot, Hot, and Mixer, and test infra and Istio. I think we're currently moving to this, so it might not work in all of them right now, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's going to be a big time saver. I don't know if anyone on the call had made PRs, but you often have to manually merge from master if someone got in before you, and redo it, and rerun the test, and redo it. Now it's going to be all automated thanks to that new system, so it should make contributing easier.
And also, external contributor, we don't have to do those workarounds anymore. You can just say, if you create a PR, you're not part of the org. Someone part of the org can just look at your PR, make sure you're not hacking anything or trying to get control of anything, and then just print OK to test to the PR, and then the test starts. I mean, it sounds simple, but it was not there before.
Shriram, is there anything you want to add on the kind of networking, routing, protocol side?
Yeah, so we've landed support for console, and we are actually adding for Eureka as well. And on top of that, slew of enhancements have gone to Envoy. Some of them include support for web methods, which was something that most people use a lot of platforms to. Then what else? Yes.
So Sriram, Eureka will be part of 0.2?
Which one?
Eureka support will be in 0.2?
Yes. Eureka and console will be in 0.2.
Yeah, console I already saw, yeah.
And WebSocket will also be in 0.2, and then there is, I guess we need all tracing related stuff. And I think, yeah, by 0.2, we'll also be able to trace API calls that go to the mixer as well, and not just the Envoy thing. And in addition, you would also be able to send your traces to different tracing backends with adapters and mixer. You can send it to Jaeger, or you can send it to Lightstep, or whatever tracing backend that you want. So this was slightly clunky in 0.1, but we've fixed that now. and thanks to Zach. And what else? Yes, so I guess the only missing feature or the big piece that's missing is health checks that we are still trying to. Oh, and the other key part is that we've kind of stabilized the Envoy sidecar to the point that there's literally 0 reloads of the sidecar itself for most part, and this was cause of some instability in the previous release. But thanks to some of the changes in Envoy, which includes support for like dynamic loading of listeners, we have like almost 0 reloads of Envoy, which basically like allows you to improve the stability. And finally, I think the only remaining thing that we have to tackle is, not the only remaining thing, but one of the big things that we have to tackle is health checks in Kubernetes, or liveliness and readiness probes. We have to be able to work that into the Envoy configuration, mostly because since we are trapping all traffic that enters the pod, the kubelet will actually end up talking to Envoy for the health checks, and we have to like the equivalent of punching a hole in the firewall so that these health checks will go to the application. So we are trying to work out a solution for that.
Does anybody want to say anything about the security features going into 0.2? Is Tao there?
Yeah, so for 0.2, what we try to do is we're going to use the CSR for node agent on the VM, and use the CSR use node agent send the CSR to the Istio CA, and the CA can assign the certificate and of course going to validate the node agent. So that's for VM. For Kubernetes pod, we're going to use the same way, which is a Kubernetes secret to deliver the key insert. That's pretty much for security. Yang, do you have any to add?
I think Tao basically covers pretty much. The end goal is allow the services running on VMs to have somehow unified identity that allows the services to communicate with each other regardless whether they are on Kubernetes or on VM. So what Tao just described is one way to allow the Istio CA issuing identity document X509 certificate to VM, and the VM probably on the VM we will use the issue the certificate as the identity when it authenticate itself against other services.
I think that covers most of 0.2. Feedback? Anything? Comments on 0.2? That's a healthy list actually. Now that we put it all together.
Pre-release.
Clearly, everyone is thrilled with it and has no complaints.
Clearly, when 9 a.m. is not right.
Do you want to segue into talking about release and kind of covering as we talk about 0.2 what we saw on GitHub?
Sure. So we want to be in a more regular release cadence eventually. So we want to be in a state where we're always incrementally improving the release and incrementally adding features. But it starts with doing build automation. And what we did on Monday is we were testing that process. So we tagged the set of artifacts as 0.2.0, but that doesn't mean that we release 0.2. Like the first official release of 0.1 was 0.1.5, I think. So it was our 5th build that was good enough to be released, and then we made a patch 0.16. So the fact that there's a 0.2.0 out there, even though it's clearly marked as a test, doesn't mean that we released. It just means that we're kicking the tires and making sure that our processes are working. And we want to do that more regularly, but it still is going to take a fair bit of effort to come up with good documentation and update everything, make sure all the tests are working, which is why we're shooting for the mid to end September to to get the actual full release. But at some point, some useful features are going to land on master, and if they pass the test, they will be part of a weekly or bi-weekly build, and you'll be welcome to give those a shot. But don't expect that it's the actual full set of features or fully tested and fully documented at that point. Yeah, so that's about our numbering. And the reason why it's, so we come up with cycles that help us track the effort. And right now we're about on a 3-month cycle, so 0.2 is the 3 months that started after the first release, the alpha 0.1. And we plan to do another such cycle before the end of the year, which will be 0.3. We'll probably revisit in that time frame how we go. But, so it doesn't mean like, it doesn't necessarily mean API or feature change as in general semantic versioning for the numbers. It's more like a release management and release cycle tracking number, the second digit. So we're in the 0.2 cycle until mid-September.
And the third digit is just incremental build. It's not patches. So
yeah, the last digit just goes up every time we make a new build. We do follow good principles of not mutating the numbers. So if we burn 0.2.0, it's not going to change. If we have a critical fix, it's going to be in the next number. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions or feedback on that? Again, everyone thinks it's a brilliant idea.
It's wonderful.
Now is the time to ask for anything you want approval on, and you're going to get a yes. Anything else that you guys want to add as part of the overall updates, or should we go ahead and dive into the questions that people have added to the working doc?
Get into questions.
All right. We have amazing notes coming from Steve. Okay, Steve, do you want to ask your question, or did that kind of cover it about, or no, I guess it didn't, about when Istio will be production ready?
Yeah, I just want to understand a little bit more about when the Istio team think that the product will be ready for kind of large-scale usage, or is it, because obviously right now it's currently a single namespace. Then in the 0.2 release, there's going to be the ability to run cluster-wide. I just wondered when the team thought it would be fully ready for wide-scale use, basically. Will that be? Do people think that it'll be ready by 0.2, or are we looking more for a 0.3?
It's hard to know exactly. I think we need some more people kicking the tires. This is going to be a symbiotic process, I think. Varun, do you want to talk a little bit about how, basically what we're looking for is kind of marquee people to, take some of their existing workloads or, greenfield apps if they have them, use them with Istio to kind of help us do some qualification. We are doing production-ish things already with Istio and 0.1, despite its limitations. 0.2 has far fewer limitations, so it should be a lot easier. I guess it depends on what your definition of production ready is, like what your criteria would be. If it's,
right.
Lines SLA and, we've tested it to destruction in a large scale production system for 6 months. Well, that clearly hasn't happened. So it's something between that and, a toy.
Sure. I think that makes sense what you're saying. I think we just need more people to use it to be able to get the confidence.
Yeah. So one of the things, we've been talking about is we're trying to give people the features they need in 0.2 and then commit to hand-holding people who are willing to, stick their foot in or take a full-on plunge, and put a serious amount of effort into that.
Yeah, so I'll add to that there's a bunch of people we know, and I'm sure there's a bunch we don't know because there's no real way to know, who are trying, testing, dev test, few services, but I agree with Louis. It's sort of a symbiotic thing. Like us getting to know like what are the criterion or what are the things people are looking for before they say, oh yeah, now I'm comfortable to take this to prod. So it's hard to make a blanket statement of timing, but if someone were really to ask, I would say it's for a lot of core features, like it's pretty ready that you can start putting it into your environment and testing and seeing the value. But I would be very comfortable saying in the sort of 0.3 release and onward that yes, go at it for most of the features, right? But again, it's hard to make a general sort of statement without specifics here. So Steve, maybe not to put you on the spot, but what do you think you would like to see, or what do you think is required for you to feel comfortable that this is ready for production?
I think we just need to see the fact that it's been run at large scale on, in not just a single tenant, but also a multi-tenant environment as well, on a range of different kind of operating systems, different clouds. So that's probably my go-to kind of production setup of how I would see it being production ready, proving it out at, for a multi-tenanted environment that doesn't just have a single namespace, which is obviously going to be coming in 0.2.
Yep.
And that we can run it at scale on a suite of different providers.
Right.
Okay, so
on the suite of different clouds and all, I know people are trying everywhere, but if people have specific feedback on OS flavors, cloud flavors, love to get that feedback.
Yeah, I mean, we know at least that within the confines of Kubernetes, things have worked fairly well across a variety of providers. Kubernetes kind of is like a hardware compatibility layer in some sense for Istio. But outside of that, right, when we start talking about VMs, things start to become much more diverse. If we're going to start, qualifying in part of our release process, like we're going to have to be very careful about which ones we commit to. Having gone through this process with gRPC, which probably has the worst of all worlds to deal with in this regard, it is quite expensive. So yeah, helping us qualify like which environments matter most. OSs, OS versions, vendors, hardware. If you have some weird networking stuff that you need us to be aware of. I think we captured some of that in the survey, but we probably need to go to a deeper level of detail if we're going to make it part of the release qualification process.
Sure, I'll add to the notes my opinions around that, so we've got something to work from.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, we had a question from Akshay, engineer at VMware. Are you on the line?
Yes, April.
Great. You want to ask your question?
Yeah. So I want to know when will the docs for the 0.2 be available so that we can see the use cases where what the new feature solves. So I guess, so as you said, the mid-September is the ideal release for 0.2. Will the docs be available by then?
Yeah. I hope release comes with docs.
I'm going to do my part to make sure we have good release docs. But I think we briefly touched on this in a conversation about like the release process, and Laurent, we talked about having at least some sort of basic, highlighting features and everything that come in those intermittent builds. and that then kind of leads the pathway up to release docs. So it should be small ones, at least, with each new version, stable version.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start working on release notes as we do releases, but also, we will start working on the feature docs. There's obviously been a lot of features going in, and we're kind of dealing with our testing backlog to make sure all those features work together right now. Once that settles down a bit, I think you'll see a strong focus on docs, maybe starting second or third week of August, depending on which feature team is and where they are with their features. I think the Mixer guys in particular, we're going to start working on their docs in like the next week or two.
Yep.
Sure. The dancers.
If you want to like see what PR docs are going to go into the master branch, like we will be generating docs from master. So if you follow along with the PRs, you'll get a pretty good idea about what what the docs will be when we do actually publish them. They'll go through a few revisions on that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the nice big advantages of the new build system that Seb talked about, right? Is that part of that is release notes in every PR. So we'll be able to keep a running tally of what is to be released.
Okay.
Great. Greg at IBM, you had a question?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, awesome. My question was on the config server, formerly called Galley. I'm just wondering, where's the best place for people to track the work and integration for that?
So this is Mandar. So Galley, as you probably have read in some of the docs, in that form no longer exists, and we're actually using the Kubernetes API server as our configuration server. So essentially, any integrations that you would like to have, you would be interacting with the Kubernetes API server. So best place to track work is just best place to track work. There are lots of issues on GitHub, but specifically, we'll have to get back on it to see. Well, there is already an Epic which tracks all the config work. We can.
Maybe we can share updates.
Yeah, we can share. Yep. Or just link the Epic here. That should be. Yeah, we can just link the Epic here. Okay. Add it to notes. Yeah.
All right. Len, you had a question? Do you want to speak?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. I'm just curious, what's the upgrade path from 0.1 to 0.2 and potentially even from 0.2 to 0.1? Do we always ask people to redeploy everything?
So I think 0.1 to 0.2 we haven't. Yeah, there are tons of breaking changes from 0.1 to 0.2. So we expect users to redeploy. I think beyond that, I don't know. We need to decide.
Yeah, I think once we GA, we have to find it. Or even we GA, we have to find it.
Yeah, but definitely 0.1 to 0.2 redeploy.
I mean, we discussed that a bit ago, and I think we decided to not yet worry about that, but because that is in itself is a pretty big item to be ready for backward compatibility, forward compatibility, protocol negotiation, and a ton of features like that. But definitely we should make the conscious decision on whether 0.2 to 0.3 should be smooth and automatic or not. We haven't decided that.
On that. This is where pre-GA we can be a little. We can afford some roughness around this, but after GA, yeah, of course. This is one of those critical.
Yeah, understood. Especially if Kubernetes, you might have to move your versions too.
Yeah. Yes.
So coming back on the last question about the Kubernetes config, are we going to package this as part of the Istio release, or are we going to use the one that is present in Kubernetes?
The one that's present in Kubernetes.
So if we have feature that we expect to be there, doesn't mean that Istio customer has to use a specific version of the.
Yes. So we are relying on admission control and external validation webhooks, which are both available in 1.7.2 as an alpha feature. So
3.1.7 will not.
3.1.7 will not work for validation. Even for proxy injection, we need. What's the story for proxy injection? Do we need 1.7.2 for that as well? Anyone here?
Yes, we do.
Okay, yeah. So we need 1.7.2 for everything.
Okay.
Looks like Sharam had a question.
Or I just wanted to know, do you have a standalone API for non-Kubernetes environment?
Definitely not for 0.2, and for later on we can talk about it.
It's part of 0.3. Yeah, it's part of a hybrid. For 0.2, the raw VM support that we have is just raw VM joining. Like the core of the functionality is in Kubernetes, so including the API server. So we haven't worried about running the API server standalone yet. But it's supposed, like on paper, it works.
And then that will be something we package.
Yeah. I think we will get there. It's a gradual process as we get to fully operable in a non-Kubernetes environment. But 0.2 is not going to be there. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the last of our questions that have been asked so far. So I'm going to ask a question on behalf of everybody else on the call. If I want to get involved with the project, what can I do? Who needs help?
So how are we doing on marking? Like there's two things, right? Like what areas what are my spaces where I should contribute and how? Right.
Actually, in terms of the security, we have a regular meetup with the IBM folks, and the PM SAMnet has a plan that we probably need to extend it to the community, and we're going to send it out to the Istio-security group, so everybody can feel free to join. So if they're interested.
Great.
Yeah.
So I was thinking creating like a list of for test info for people that want to join, creating just a list like with label, GitHub label, and kind of put priority on it so that if people are looking for something to do, they can just look at the high priority stuff that are not assigned or even the lowest one, depending on what they want to contribute. But I was wondering if it's something that we do across teams or.
I mean, standard process is just tag help wanted and just across repos and
help wanted.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get everybody to tag it help wanted. Yeah.
Which we should do across repos anyways. But that's just like what? That still doesn't how.
Yeah. So
yeah, I guess go ahead.
To his point about the meetings, right? Each of the Istio subgroups should have weekly meetings that are open to the public. So like Mixers is on Wednesday. And so all of those are a really good way, even if you're not actively contributing yet, to start getting involved. And so between that and all the mailing lists, that's a good way to kind of understand what's going on. And from there, I think it's a lot easier to start diving into issues and that kind of thing.
Okay, Zach, where are the different working groups meetings?
Yeah, so
they're not public yet.
So we need to, at least the ones that we have started, and I'm already seeing, is there a pilot weekly?
Yeah.
So there's a list of working groups on the GitHub on the docs page. Let me find it and I'll link it.
Yeah, we need to email out to everybody all the mailing lists and our weekly meetings.
So we should create a community repo, the suggestion, which is actually not a bad suggestion. But yeah, even if we don't go as far as repo, at least we need a place where we say aliases and meetings.
I think Steve just volunteered to do that.
Okay. Awesome. Steve, you have an AI. I think Mixer is happening open.
Yeah.
From what I know.
Yeah, I know. Like not all of them are yet.
It's not happening yet. Christopher, did you just volunteer to do that?
The community meeting or which one?
Working group meeting.
Working group meeting for pilot. I think if you do it, then I know Quat will be interested. There's a few people who will definitely be very interested.
Yeah,
it'd
be helpful to have like a general the networking working group, which would combine proxy and pilot, or should they be split by component?
So I think we made a networking as a, like all the lists and areas we made. Yes, that's worth, right? It's probably worth, I don't think that's widely known, April. So that's.
I'm sorry, I was typing. What was?
Like all of the different groups and lists we made once.
Oh yes, and that's actually on my list for today, was to identify all of our different lists and who should be on what, and I think there's some overlap. And
so on the core Istio, there is a link to, there's a groups MD file in the Istio main box.
I just linked that in the chat for everybody. So.
Okay, yeah. So there's one for networking, and maybe we should start that, Christopher and.
So, as a kind of immediate action item, I will work with all the different working groups to get the process set up and get things going and make sure we're communicating out. I love Steve's idea, and Steve, if you'll help me with that, that would be fantastic. But we're at that point where we're definitely wanting to get more involvement from the broader external community and trying to make it as easy as possible for you to get involved. So if there's anything that you've seen as a barrier, reach out, let me know, and we'll try to knock it down as best we can. That sound good?
Yeah.
If we have any other questions come up, or does everybody get, I think everybody gets like 15 minutes back in their day, which I think all of you here need to spend getting coffee.
Yeah. What do I do?
What's the process for driving changes?
Elaborate these changes to.
Yeah, Ross, do you want to speak?
Let me find the button. All right, I think I found it. My question was mostly like, what's the process around proposing changes to Istio, regardless of the component, and then driving it and getting adopted, and then actually like implementing it? Is there a defined process, or is that something that is handled by the core community specifically?
Starts with emails to core, right?
Yeah. Yes, it starts with emails to core or dev, depending on how wide it is. And if it is something kind of more specific and more formed, you can also open an issue.
Okay. Is there like a spec document, like a spec template or something like that if it was a more complicated change? Because I see specs going around, but I wasn't sure how people were coming up with like the format and stuff like that. The processes around them. It isn't clear.
You can copy one of the existing documents from the drive and start from there, I guess, as an example. We don't really have a full-blown template. Maybe we should add that.
There's a reuse design doc community drive.
Yeah, that's pretty. What should we be doing? I don't know. What's the better way? Is there a better way?
I was mostly just wondering if there was a process that I just wasn't seeing. So it sounds like there isn't a process in place. So.
Not formally, but it sounds like that's probably something we should work on.
We're open to having
Yeah,
one.
so let us know what would work best and we'll figure it out.
And if you have specific thing you're trying to get, like, this is not a bad, like, this is a good place to say what change you're trying to.
The two things that I'm most interested in right now are per request, like auth and stuff like that, and then like the cluster wide control plane. But I think that that's already on people's roadmaps already. So.
Sorry, I got the cluster wide. The first one you mentioned was auth what?
Per request auth. So not just service to service auth, but like encoding identity and stuff like that in a per request basis.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's
that is, for example, is it just you should, an issue you can file. I mean, I've seen some requests for that come in. So yeah, I mean, look, simple, like, if you just like want to have like features, you should just start with the issue in the right repo, or email groups as security group might be a good one, but in this case,
yeah.
And if those don't get you far, then we can look at other.
And if you don't know what the right repo is to file an issue in, we have Istio issues. So you can always file an issue there, and we'll go refile it into the correct spot.
Yeah, we'll go triage. And, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, issues are your friend. Go use them.
All right, one last check for any other questions that came in. If I didn't have 20 tabs open that said Istio in it, that would probably be helpful. I think that's it. So you get time for coffee. Thanks everybody for being a part of today's call. We did record, and Steve took some notes, and I know Len was also helping with notes, so thank you both. And then we will work on, it looks like we're gonna start tracking everything note-wise in GitHub, so we'll work on sharing that out with everybody. And
may I ask
if you have any questions? Yeah, go for it.
That's my last. I don't know if you're changing conferences room, but you have an exit sign over there, and maybe behind Varun you can put sales sign like Istio sign, so that we know that we are in the right conference room from the beginning.
We don't have the luxury.
Like we have here, right?
Well, yeah. Maybe I should just make you all wear the t-shirts every recurring
room with big stickers.
You can't find it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's already come through.
Oh, there you go. Your layer. Bay Area, gotta have your layer.
Yes, we'll work on a big sticker.
Yeah, we'll work on a flag or something.
We need a flag, yes.
Okay, well, if any questions come up in between now and our next meeting, again, we do these bi-weekly. Of course, reach out to any of the mailing lists, or you're welcome to add stuff to the working doc in advance of the next meeting. And in advance of the next meeting, if there's something you want to demo, share, show off, whatever, please reach out. We definitely want to have ample opportunity for you in the community to share with everyone what you've been working on. So never hesitate to sign up for some time. Other than that, thank you very much for being here, and I'll send out the recording when it's ready. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.